Welcome to the Deep Dive. Glad you could join us again.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving into something that's, well, it's changing incredibly fast. Recruiting and talent acquisition.
Oh, absolutely. It's a space that's just buzzing right now. You've got tech, shifting priorities. It's a lot.
And we're digging into a really interesting report today. It looks ahead, specifically at the future of recruiting in Southeast Asia. Gives us a peek at 2025 and, beyond.
Yeah, it's packed with findings. So our job today is basically to unpack the big stuff, cut through the noise for you, and really get at what these changes mean.
And, it's maybe not what you'd expect. You hear future of hiring, you think robots,
Right.
algorithms everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But this report, it really hammers home that the human side isn't vanishing. Actually, it's becoming even more important.
That's the fascinating paradox, isn't it? Okay, so where do we start?
Let's start with the big picture shift.
Hmm.
Recruiting used to be very transactional, right? Fill the job quickly, urgent.
Exactly. Just get butts in seats sometimes.
Mm.
But now, it's fundamentally shifted. It's being seen as a core strategic part of the business.
It's about the long game now, the impact. And you really see this in the metrics they're tracking. The report says, get this, 52% of recruiters in Southeast Asia, their number one metric is quality of hire.
52%, that's huge. It's a clear signal. Forget just hiring fast. It's about hiring right.
And hiring right means what exactly these days?
Well, it's way beyond just ticking off technical skills on a CV.
Yeah.
Recruiters are now looking hard at adaptability, how someone fits the culture, their potential for growth down the line. It's much more holistic.
So talent acquisition TA isn't just shuffling papers anymore. They're at the strategy table.
Definitely. Something like 74% of professionals in the region see TA as a strategic pillar, a core part of the business.
74%. Wow.
And that means they're influencing big things: workforce planning, diversity efforts, even how the company innovates. Hiring managers want that closer partnership now. They need it.
Okay, and in this strategic landscape, the report talks about employer branding being a superpower.
Yeah, it sounds a bit much, but it's kind of true. This isn't just marketing fluff. Companies with a really strong, authentic employer brand, they get 50% more qualified applicants.
50%.
And this is key. Their cost per hire can drop by up to 40%.
Okay, that's serious money. It shows how much candidates care about the whole package now, the values, the culture. It's not just salary.
Not at all. And another big trend, looking inwards first, internal mobility, upskilling your own people.
That seems smart. Keep the talent you already have, right? Boosts retention.
Hugely. Higher retention, higher engagement. Plus, it cuts down the time it takes to fill roles because you're building your pipeline internally. So expect, way more investment in learning platforms, continuous development stuff.
Right. But this must shake things up for, traditional staffing agencies.
Oh, massively. The report's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Just forwarding resumes, that model is dead. Or dying fast, anyway.
So what do they need to do to survive?
They have to become strategic advisors, real partners, offering market insights, salary data, talent mapping, DEI consulting, stuff like that. Real value beyond just finding names.
Got it. More expertise, less just volume. Okay, so that naturally brings us to the tech enabling a lot of this. AI.
Yep. And AI isn't coming soon. It's here. It's already woven into recruiting workflows.
And the efficiency gains are pretty eye-opening. Automating resume screening, outreach.
Yeah, the time savings are significant. Companies using generative AI or GAI are reporting saving around 20% of their work week.
20%. That's basically a whole workday back for recruiters.
Exactly. And that efficiency, that's the number one benefit everyone points to right now.
But it's not just about speed, is it? What do recruiters do with that extra day? That's the interesting part.
Right. It lets them shift their focus. AI handles the routine stuff, freeing up humans for the high-value things AI can't do.
Like what specifically?
Building real relationships with candidates, making the whole candidate experience better, giving actual strategic advice to hiring managers, solving complex problems, negotiating, the human stuff.
Ah, okay. So this is where that term hybrid recruiter comes from.
Precisely. To succeed now, you need both. You got to be good with the AI tools, understand the data, but you also need those advanced human skills: empathy, strategy, communication.
Tech savvy, but still people focused. In
Yeah.
a sense. But adoption isn't universal yet, right? The report mentions challenges.
Yeah, adoption is accelerating globally. It's up to 37% integrating or trying GAI from 27%. But there are hurdles. Data privacy is a big one, understandably. Budgets for new tech. And just, figuring out how to measure if the AI is actually working, what the ROI is.
There's still some uncertainty there. But the overall message seems to be AI enabling recruiters to be more human. not replacing them.
Exactly. It buys them the time for the important qualitative work. There's an example in there about LinkedIn using AI to analyze interview transcripts. Not to judge candidates, but to find patterns to improve the whole hiring process, boost that quality of hire.
That's a great example. Using tech to get better at the human goal. And that ties into another huge shift. They talk about the skills-first revolution.
Yes, this is massive.
Okay, so why skills? Why are they suddenly more important than, say, a degree or a specific job title?
Because the skills needed for jobs are changing so fast, it's almost dizzying. In Southeast Asia, the skills needed have already changed by 40% since 2016. 40%.
Wow.
And with generative AI coming in, they think that could hit 72% by 2030.
72% change in skills needed. That's almost
Yeah.
every job will be different. Feels urgent.
It is urgent, and that's why focusing on skills makes sense. Look at what people can do, their abilities, not just where they went to school or their job history on paper. This unlocks huge pools of talent that were overlooked before.
The report said it could expand the global AI talent pool by, 7.4 times.
Imagine. It's huge potential. And focusing on skills doesn't just find more people, it finds people who are better aligned with the actual job needs. It boosts diversity and inclusion too, because you're breaking down those traditional barriers.
And companies doing this actually hire better performers.
Yeah, they're 12% more likely to hire top performers. So it's not just feel good, it has real business results.
Okay, but assessing skills sounds hard,
Yeah,
especially at scale. How does AI fit in?
AI is basically the engine that makes skills-first hiring possible at scale. It helps assess skills more consistently, more objectively than humans can across thousands of applicants. Remember that stat. 71% of recruiters think AI will improve how quality of hire is measured. A lot of that is about getting better at spotting the right skills.
So AI helps find people with the actual abilities needed now, regardless of their background. It sounds like it could really open things up.
It really could. It's potentially a big step towards democratizing opportunity, focusing on ability, not just credentials.
Now, the report focuses heavily on Southeast Asia. Let's zoom in there. What's unique?
Well, SEA really shows these global trends playing out, but with its own twists, like this gap between believing in AI and actually using it.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so 79%, almost 80% of TA pros in SEA believe AI will fundamentally change hiring. Huge conviction there.
Right, they see it coming.
But only 29% are actually using or even experimenting with AI tools right now. That's quite a bit lower than the global average, which is around 37%.
So belief is high, adoption is lagging. Why? Back to those barriers.
Yeah.
Budget, privacy, maybe uncertainty.
That seems to be the implication, yes. Those practical hurdles might just be bigger or perceived as bigger in the region right now. Meanwhile, that skills challenge, the 40% shift, maybe 72% by 2030, that's hitting SEA hard. It's a really urgent issue for the workforce there.
And the report projects a pretty major impact from AI on jobs in the region.
Yeah, significant numbers. They estimate 57% of workers, that's about 164 million people in Southeast Asia, could see their jobs either augmented or disrupted by generative AI by 2030.
Wow. Can you break that down a bit? Augmented versus disrupted.
Sure. So augmented, maybe 27% of workers, means GAI helps with parts of their job, freeing them up for more complex tasks. Think like a data analyst using AI for the number crunching, but they focus on interpretation and strategy.
Okay.
Disrupted, maybe 32% means a lot of their core skills could be automated. They'll likely need significant reskilling. A translator, for instance, might need to become an expert editor of AI translations rather than doing it all from scratch.
Right. And the rest?
The rest, about 44%, are considered more insulated. Their jobs rely heavily on skills. GI struggles with complex human interaction, physical tasks, creativity. Maybe like a real estate agent AI can write descriptions, but the relationship building, negotiation, that's still key.
That's a really varied impact across the workforce. And there's a social equity angle too, right? It doesn't hit everyone equally.
This is critical. The report highlights that the impact looks disproportionate. In places like Indonesia and Singapore, over 70% of women could be in augmented or disrupted roles compared to maybe 64% of men.
70% versus 60-something. That's a noticeable difference.
And younger workers too, especially Gen Z. Figures like 76% potentially affected in those same countries.
That really flags a need for proactive measures, doesn't it? To avoid making inequality worse.
Absolutely. The report really stresses this. It calls for big government-backed initiatives for reskilling and upskilling. It argues the market won't solve this alone without causing major problems, and they recommend that skills-based approach again focus on equipping people with future-proof capabilities.
So a shared responsibility. Individuals, companies, governments all need to step up. But it's not all challenges. There's a success story in the report, too, from Singapore.
Yes, the National University Health System, NUHS. They used LinkedIn's AI recruiting tools and got some really impressive results.
What happened?
They quadrupled their job applicants 4 times,
Yeah.
and they got much better at filling those really specific, hard-to-fill healthcare roles.
That's huge, especially in healthcare. Any specific numbers on how the AI helped?
Yeah, they found 66% of their recruiters were using AI search features, and 86% used AI-assisted emails to reach out to candidates. And the acceptance rate from those AI emails, 41%.
41% acceptance. How does that compare?
Compare that to just 14% acceptance from standard non-AI emails.
Okay, that's a massive difference. A clear win for using AI smartly to boost recruiter effectiveness, especially for niche roles.
Definitely shows how it can enhance what recruiters do, not just replace them.
Which brings us back around to that key metric, quality of hire.
It's becoming the central focus now. 97% of TA pros and SEA say measuring quality of hire is getting more critical. It's a big shift away from just speed and volume like we saw in 2021, 2022. Now it's about long-term value.
Okay, 97% agree it's critical. But can they actually measure it?
That's the catch. Only 31% feel confident they can track quality of hire effectively right now. So there's this big confidence gap. Everyone knows it's important, but actually measuring it well, that's tough.
And I'm guessing AI comes into play here again to help bridge that gap.
Exactly. 71% expect AI to improve how QOH is measured. By giving better data, spotting trends, maybe even predicting success factors, AI can help make QOH less subjective, more data-driven.
So how are they trying to measure it now? What goes into that quality of hire score?
It's usually a mix of things. The report mentions the most common ones are job performance ratings from managers, about 66% use those. Then new hire retention after, say, a year, 60% track that. And new hire satisfaction or engagement scores, that's about 44%. It's about what happens after the person starts.
Looking at the actual impact and fit, the report mentioned Uber's approach briefly.
Yeah, as a structured example. They build profiles of what success looks like, assess candidates against that, and then follow up with surveys later to see if the new hires are actually delivering. It really highlights how TA, HR, and the business need to work together on this.
And it all connects back, doesn't it? Employer brand attracts people who align with the values, making them more likely to be a quality hire.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. Strategic TA, using AI well, focusing on skills, building the brand, measuring what matters. It all drives towards getting talent that makes a real difference.
Okay, so let's try to boil this down. If you're in talent acquisition, especially in a fast-moving place like Southeast Asia, what are the key things you need to do based on this report?
Right. First, get comfortable with AI, but see it as your co-pilot, not your replacement. Use it to handle the routine stuff so you can focus on the human strategic work. And that means developing those hybrid skills, tech and people skills.
Okay, embrace AI as augmentation. What else?
Second, really lean into that skills-first approach. Prioritize what people can do over traditional credentials. It opens up talent pools and gets you people ready for the future because skills are changing so fast.
Skills over pedigree. Got it. Third,
invest big time in upskilling and reskilling inside your company and push for broader programs too. With AI changing jobs so much, continuous learning is essential for everyone. It needs employers and governments working together.
lifelong learning is key. Okay, number 4.
Focus on measuring quality of hire consistently. Move past just speed. Use multiple metrics. Use AI to get better insights and close that confidence gap. Know what a good hire actually looks like for your business.
Measure what matters.
And finally,
Double down on your employer brand and the candidate experience. In a tight market, how you treat people and what your company stands for are massive differentiators. They directly impact who you attract and therefore your quality of hire.
makes sense. So the big picture is, the future isn't just tech. It's tech plus human.
That's exactly it. It's this blend. High-tech tools, especially AI, making things possible, combined with a deeper focus on the human elements, relationships, culture, potential, fit.
And success means constantly investing in both the tools and the people using them.
Absolutely. You can't neglect either side. It's dynamic, it's challenging, but also full of potential.
Definitely. Okay, as we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with something to think about, especially reflecting on those social equity points.
How can we, companies, governments, individuals, really tackle the fact that AI's impact might hit some groups harder than others? And thinking about solutions, what role do things like skills-based hiring and truly prioritizing continuous learning need to play if we want to build a future workforce that's not just productive, but also resilient and genuinely inclusive as things keep changing so rapidly?
That's the big question, isn't it? A lot to chew on there as these changes accelerate.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of recruiting.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.